Gaza is once again on the brink of something, whether it's, I guess now it's starvation, it's always something. And this is not going to be another one of those episodes where we go through why this is obviously a lie and not something to take seriously. We've done those. You can find them. You can find them elsewhere as well. You can, I did an episode where I read almost identical headlines about famine in Gaza from like 15 years, the past 15 years, because it's the same story. Whenever the Palestinian cause of exterminating the Jews seems to be losing a little steam, always throw in a famine or a apartheid or a peaceful march to the fence or something like that. Um, and yeah, I guess this is one of those times. So the Guardian has provided us with material for today's show. We're going to go through an article talking about how Palestinians are suffering, and they're completely, of course, the victims of Israel, and so on. Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm Razi Ginsburg. I'm joined by Alex. Alex, your thoughts on this in general before we go into the article itself?
It's really amazing that that they continually talk about the famine. Okay, that the famine is imminent. Okay, that the famine is nearly here. It's here. It's almost here. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And you'll notice that obesity in Gaza has remained consistent at 65%. Okay, so they're suffering from the same sort of issues that you get, in the West, right, with overeating. But then again, I've also read articles where they've said the obesity crisis is also because of the blockade, apartheid, whatever. So no matter what, it's always going to be the same story, just told in, kind of slightly different, lazy iterations.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they are becoming obese because it's the wrong type of humanitarian aid. Don't you ever get something in a restaurant that you just want to send back? That's kind of the situation in Gaza in many
Hmm.
ways. But of course, the Guardian presents it in a different way. So this article talks, among other things, about the looting that's going on by Gazans of some of this aid, and you would think, looting is the kind of thing you report on as a negative, but of course, this is the Guardian, so the title of the article is "Desperate, Traumatized People. Gaza faces wave of looting, theft, and violence." So before, and this is not an op-ed. This is a news article. The first thing they tell you isn't what's happening, it's why it is justified on behalf of the perpetrators. That's quite the admission by the Guardian right at the start, but it's an admission they make all the time, so their audience already knows who they are and chooses them for it. Aid officials and residents report breakdown in law and order as food and supplies run out during Israeli blockade. All right, even here, I want to pause before we get to the main article itself. Uh, that's interesting. First of all, when you say aid officials and residents, I mean every part of this. Aid officials and residents, that's Hamas or Hamas, Hamas friendly people. So aid officials and residents report is as meaningful as Gaza Health Ministry reports. It is not, it's not to be taken as fact. Breakdown in law and order. So you mean, when before that we had Hamas, we had law and order, we had everything was under control. But now that Israel is doing what it's doing and Hamas is not as strong as it was, that's another part of it. So even before we get to the article itself, the Guardian gives us all these gems. Alex, any thoughts on that before we go to the first part of
Yeah,
the
I mean it's really quite incredible. It also you can just see the absolute, I mean, it's such willful ignorance the way that this entire kind of thing has been described, as if as if Gaza was a place of, like, love and kindness and thriving, okay, like prior to October 7th. This is a place which is run by um, a, a brutal clannish system whereby if you can be killed by your family for simply kind of displeasing them in some way. So I think the way that this has kind of been told is sort of like it is this, crazy phenomenon of violence, as if as if this wasn't going on before and has been going on, is always been going on, because it's a savage place run by, you know, violent tribes, violent clans, okay, that only ever want to destroy each other. I mean,
And they want to kill the Jews. Don't forget that part.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. Of course they do. That's the one thing that binds them together. But I mean, we know about the clans that have been murdering each other for the past, for the past 17 years. We know their names, right? You can map out all of the various murders. Okay, even today, just I don't even live in I don't even live with these kind of clans, but we have bodies that just turn up every day in Israel and have been turning up for the past couple of years, and it's warring tribes. That's what it is. It's like It's like when drug barons go after each other. That that's Gaza.
Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says they need to free those still held. Yeah, that's not going to happen, but they need to pay for the price that they need to pay the price for the fact that they've taken them and killed many. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says, Razi, stay safe in Israel. Thanks. Yeah, I'm safe so far. Whether or not I can leave is a different question, but that's not the topic of today's episode. Yeah, so right when we start the first paragraph, you mentioned how this is treated like something that's happening to them out of the blue, and the article itself starts with Gaza has been hit by a wave of looting and theft as increasingly desperate Palestinians struggle to get food while criminal gangs exploit a breakdown in law and order. I mean, so first of all, Gaza has been hit by it, like a snowstorm or an earthquake or something that just happens to you and you have nothing, you can't prevent it and you can't do anything about it. And again, they go back to the increasingly desperate Palestinians. So they go back to justifying it. And this is how they start the reporting of this story. By the way, you can see from the pace that we're going through this article, we're not going to go through the whole thing. If you really want to read this whole Guardian article, we'll put it in the chat and in the description so you can read it. But yeah, Alex, your thoughts on the first paragraph?
I mean, it really is just quite astounding. I mean, so there's no empirical evidence here, right? There's no, this is an opinion piece, okay? They don't actually say how much the supposed crime has increased, right? Gaza is a violent place where you have people that just are at war with each other. They have what is called nakamat dam, right? Which means that your families are they have blood feuds with each other in perpetuity, right? Like the Montagues and the Capulets. Okay. And it's got nothing to do with Israel. So it's sort of what is the evidence that you're seeing a massive crime, surge? What is the evidence? This reporter that you have that's based there that's saying, oh, it's really getting terrible now. And I love the way as well is that they even say, while criminal gangs exploit a breakdown in law and order. What do you mean? What's the breakdown in law and order? What was the law and order? Who was the law and order? It was the dictatorial fascist Islamic regime, okay, that's basically, it's a family business, right? That's what it is. It's a family business. You're born into a Hamas family. And so you have to therefore, maintain your control through being brutal. The families are dictatorships, right? Um, it's there's no individuality. It's all it's a completely different it's a completely different way of it's like trying to explain to a polar bear like how to play tennis or something. That's what it is like trying to explain to like a Western person about the kind of the way of life in Gaza. And it really has nothing to do with the Jews. And again, there's no evidence, right? They've just said, oh, there's a lot of looting going on. More than usual. Okay. More than usual. This is a place where they would tie people to trucks and ride them through the street, right? This is a place where they would behead, and we have actual videos of it, behead gay people in the public square, right? This is what they do. So I'd love to I'd love to I'd love a bit of evidence here.
Yeah, yeah, this is what they do, and this is what they do that isn't reported. So there's if we're talking about reports of humanitarian aid being looted, this is not the first time. But the Guardian doesn't usually report it because usually we're talking about humanitarian aid supposedly being sent in to feed Palestinian civilians and being taken by Hamas, so looted by Hamas. But that is not something you hear about. You hear about in the Guardian, and yeah, you hear about it if there is a way to blame Israel, and if there isn't, they will find one. Uh,
Yeah.
let's let's continue with the article. 8 officials and witnesses in the devastated territory described armed men attacking humanitarian warehouses, firefights over remaining food stores, and a spate of stealing of supplies vital for survival, such as solar chargers, batteries, phones, and cooking pots. Okay, let's leave aside the items necessary for survival. Gaza is on the brink of catastrophe after 2 months of a total blockade by Israel. Aid workers say, with many families down to one meal a day. Spoiled flour is being sold for 30 to 40 times its usual price, and no fuel is available other than wood or discarded plastic. First of all, spoiled flour is being sold 30 to 40 times its usual price. What's the usual price for spoiled flour? I don't know. Maybe that's something they like there in Gaza. But yeah, this everything about this report, from the fact that they list 4 items necessary for survival and 3 of them are like phone related stuff, so you can live stream to the world how hungry you are. Yeah, the Guardian is really trying, but it's not trying in a sense that it's trying to convince anybody who's not the choir. I don't know how anybody would read this article and come out with anything other than a very negative view of the Guardian. And also a point you made earlier about the reporter. Yeah, there's one reporter in Jerusalem on this article, and one in Gaza. Now, we hear all the time that Israel isn't letting journalists into Gaza. We hear all the time that more journalists are dying in Gaza than anywhere in any war in history. But it's true, Israel isn't letting people in. So if you have journalists in Gaza, especially reporting from areas that are not under Israeli control, they are Hamas or Hamas approved. So this is a Hamas article in the Guardian. It's not just Hamas friendly.
Hmm.
Alex.
Yeah, and I know as well this surname. Okay, this surname is it's a well-known surname, right? So we know, that this is a we know what clan this is that we're talking about. So we're just based. It's like almost asking like a representative of the government, right? But yeah, because again, you don't get to have the cushy jobs like being a reporter if you're not like connected, right? That's it. You just don't get to have them. Okay. Um, but yeah, again, this how do they let this pass through, right? The standards. Because this is an article that is entirely hearsay. Okay. There's no kind of, it is increased, 10 times or whatever, from 2009, it was, 5 executions a day. And now it's, 500. And this is the evidence, right? Isn't that kind of the standard in journalism? You know, it's again, this is just random. This is a random opinion piece. That they, and by the way, it doesn't really matter, by the way, what they would be doing, right? No matter the violence that the Palestinians, such as they are, descend to. No matter what they do, no matter how horrendous it is, no matter how depraved it is always the Jews' fault. You know, if you ever watch Memory, MEMRI, which is where they do kind of translations from Arabic into English, right? About you know, news coverage. You know, there's a great one where they blame wife beating on the occupation. Wife beating, right? Wife beating apparently is a real epidemic in Gaza. It's higher than other places in the Middle East. You can only ever you can really only imagine, okay, the level of kind of depravity, right? That wife beating is so bad that it's kind of known, right? It's known. Gaza is the worst place for the wife beating. But again, it's the Jews' fault, right? Oh, they don't have any other choice. They have to beat their wives. They don't have any other choice. That's it. They just have to. They're
I
really
mean,
suffering, Razzie.
wife beating is not specific to Palestinian Arab culture. It's kind
No,
of
no, of course not.
widespread. So I don't know how
Yeah.
Israel is to blame for wife beating in Syria or elsewhere, but I'm sure it somehow is.
It's because of the mind control that the Jews can, you know, they have, right? They have their mind control methods. So it's completely not their fault. They're of course not responsible.
Yeah, which is, very much what we see in this article. Before we go back to it, thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says, Razi, my son, says there was never a Palestine. He is right. Guardian is woke. Thank you, Apollo Zeus, for the super chat. Okay, let's continue with this article. There's one gem I wanted to get to. I hope we'll get there. Okay, medical officials report rising cases of acute malnutrition, and community kitchens that served 1 million meals a day are shutting down for lack of basic essentials. Aid agencies say they have distributed all remaining stocks of food. Dozens of bakeries that supplied vital free bread closed last month. Quote, by the time famine is declared, it will be too late. The crime wave is because you have 2 million or more desperate, traumatized people packed together with virtually no policing, says one humanitarian official in Gaza. Okay, let's pause there again with every one of these things. Unless we do a 5 hour show on every Guardian article, we have to skip some stuff. But yeah, of course, the population number here is complete bullshit. But it's the person still, the humanitarian official in Gaza still uses the same justification that the Guardian does to explain why the looting is not the looter's fault, and that the problem is virtually no policing, as in Hamas doesn't have the power that it had before to prevent such things.
It's absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's just the kind of the uh, the you know, I cannot fathom that they are not self-aware. I think that they know what they're doing. I think they're very aware of it. I think they don't care because no one is gonna really kind of, you know, protest this. It's just again, it's just another one to just add on to the pile. What level of infantilization, right, can you possibly do, right? Well, like what level of like it's just so infantilizing. It is that these are these brain dead children that can't think for themselves. They're not responsible for anything that they do. Okay. And so yeah, there's a bit of looting. Okay, but like they don't, I mean, it's like there's no other way to live. There's no other way to do things. And nobody else who has ever had a hard time has ever decided to do anything any other way, right? It always comes down to this, right? To holding people up at knife point, right? And looting and whatever. Okay. I mean, and the way they say as well that they're kind of that it's sort of like Lord of the Flies or something. Okay, that they're like beating each other to death for the last like slice of bread. Okay. Just, you know, instead of saying the truth, this is a place where life is extremely cheap. extremely cheap. Everybody's lives are extremely cheap. Um, and it's a very, like everywhere in the Middle East, but especially, in Gaza, this is a very brutal, it's a very brutal area where there's no, it's not as if, okay, right, okay, when they're talking about the policing as well, I just want to say Gaza is a place whereby if you murder someone, um, so long as you rehearse you know, parts of the Quran and you learn it and you can recite it, okay, and probably if you can pay a bribe, you can get out of it. You can, like, get off of the death row. You can basically have your sentence, okay, which is handed down to you by some, you know, cleric or, Hamas court, whatever. You can, essentially have it like expunged, so to speak. So that is the policing that we're, talking about, right? I'd like to understand as well how many times did this police did this police force, how many times did they arrest fathers and uncles and brothers for killing women who had, disgraced the family? Okay. Right. How many times did they go and investigate these cases and get to the bottom of them and bring, a swift justice? What about for the homosexuals that were killed by their brothers and uncles? What about them? No, we're talking here about a gang. That is what they're saying. This gang is no longer in control. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, and by the way, when you say Gazans can get out of it if they committed a murder, you're not referring, of course, to the murder of Jews, which they don't have
Of
to
course,
get
that's
out
okay.
of, they
Yeah.
get rewarded for.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue with the article because we are coming up to that gem that I was looking forward to getting to. Gaza City has been worst hit by the crime wave, though some incidents have been reported elsewhere in the territory. One group of armed men broke into 2 or 3 bakeries in Gaza City last week, hoping to find flour, then targeted a soup kitchen when they found nothing. In another incident, thieves took a community kitchen's last stocks as well as its pots and pans. In a third theft, staff at a distribution site run by an NGO were held at knife point as it was looted, while the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, said it had to evacuate staff on Wednesday after thousands of Palestinians breached its Gaza City field office and took medications. Louise Wateridge, a senior emergency officer at UNRWA, called the looting, quote, the direct result of unbearable and prolonged deprivation. So, yeah, a few thousand people just randomly go and loot something, normal everyday life. And the person, the people being looted, explaining why this is not the fault of the looters. It is the fault of the people the looters murdered and are trying to murder more of
Mhm.
because they won't just die. They insist on defending themselves.
Yeah, it's almost like imagine that there is like a maximum security prison in the United States. A- and they're breaking out of their cells. The prisoners are breaking out of their cells and beating each other to death. And you just have the reporting saying it really it's just because of the hard conditions. It's nothing to do with anything else, nothing to do with maybe the way that they are solving disputes. Okay. That this is the law of the jungle, right? That this is how you solve disputes with people. Um, I can't, yeah. Again, like, do they not see how racist it is as well to be the acting like this? Right? It is very racist, I think. It's kind of like that. I don't know if it's racist necessarily. Racist might not be the right word, but it's sort of like this, like, here you have these savage Arabs. You can't expect them to like solve their disputes normally. Come on, you can't expect that. Right, of course it's fallen into, complete mayhem. Of course. Come on. They're Arabs at the end of the day. God, what do you expect? They're Palestinians. It's like this complete, like, zero expectations from them. Zero.
Yeah,
Absolutely nothing. They're capable of, by the way, just so you know, when when um uh, uh, when Palestinians go abroad, they achieve great things, really. They open up businesses. When they go to, the Palestinian American community has achieved a lot, right? These are very productive people. They are made out of flesh and blood, same as me, same as Razi. You stop treating them like this. It is disgusting.
Yeah, this is kind of what was referred to as the soft bigotry of low expectations, but it's not
Hmm.
soft. It's full on. And
Hmm.
yeah, it is bigotry. And by the way, we see this in different types of political movements supporting those who are supposedly oppressed. This is always the case. It was the case with Black Lives Matter. It's the case with quotas for women. It's the case with all of that. But with the Palestinians, since they are savages who murder, and they are the absolute most brutal, backwards society on the planet today. You have to go that extra mile to yeah,
Hmm.
to achieve that bigotry.
Yeah.
Parting thoughts, and where can people find more from you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm going to be on The Guardian. I'm going to be writing some more opinion pieces next. I'm going to be writing some great pieces for The Guardian, like maybe the sky is made out of marshmallows. And I say that because I think it's, therefore it's true. I mean, yeah, that this is I'll also be here on ARCUK, and I recommend the IDSF. And, I also recommend, if anybody is in Israel, having a visit to the Gush Katif Museum. They could really use some support.
Well, I know you and Daniel went there, and I will make a point to get there. Like I said, I don't know when I will be able to leave the country, but yeah, I just have to tell you, I don't know if you'll get published in The Guardian with the sky is turning into marshmallows, unless it's the sky is turning into marshmallows because of global warming. In which case, that
No,
is
it's no, no, no. It's turning into marshmallows because of the tears of the Gazans who are under genocide. That's why.
Okay, that is
Yeah.
also publishable.
Yeah.
All right, and by the way, on a serious note, I recommend reading The Guardian because read it like we read it now. There's so much in there that you can see then in people that you talk to who think they know something because they read The Guardian. Uh, so yeah, thank you, Apollo Zeus, for the super chat. Apollo Zeus says The Guardian newspaper is disgusting. I agree with that. I still recommend reading it. Um,
Hmm.
there is no episode of the reality show today, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry about that. We're getting back on track. Daniel is making his way back from Israel, somehow managed to get out. I will hopefully be doing that as well in a few days. Uh, and yeah, both the Daily Objective and the reality show will be on tomorrow. I believe tomorrow Daniel is doing his episode on his trip to Israel on the Daily Objective. So make sure you tune into that. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you back here soon.